Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to Paws On Animation.
Today we're covering the long-awaited DC animated movie, Battle of the Supersons. We're shorting it to that, so.
Yes, and it's based on the beloved comic series Supersons and shows young heroes John Kent and Damian Wayne,
Yay!
teaming up not to just save their parents, but the world from an alien invasion.
Yes, and before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, click notification bell to some future podcasts and little pause videos.
Yes, we were really excited when we first heard this was going to come out, since we've read the entire book series or graphic novel series, and we were just really excited and couldn't wait to see this version of the story featuring Superman and Batman and their kids, and Lois Lane, of course.
Right.
And we were really, really excited, and we expected them, sillily, to go from the books themselves and get the story from there, but they didn't.
Yeah, and we were a little surprised when we saw the trailers, like, oh, it's a whole new story. They're not doing any of the issues they did in the book. Like, okay, so maybe it's just done in that style, but it's like a story you never saw. Then you watched it, and it goes an entirely different route. Not a bad route, they just decided to speed up the story a bit, because it's not even 90 minutes.
Now, for you, those of you who haven't read it, the original story started in another comic series.
Right, when it was the DC Rebirth era.
And then got its own 3-copy release.
Yeah, it was starting in Superman Rebirth, and then Supersons and then we got a Supersons story after, like a spin-off from the Superman comics.
And only 3 issues. Really wish there had been more, because it's fantastic. If you've never read it, you really should read it.
Yeah.
You can get them at your local library. You can also buy them online, but since this movie's come out, they've really jacked up the price of the books themselves, so you're not going to get a deal.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But it's fantastic. It's so much fun to read. It's got everything you would want if you were watching an animated movie in a book.
Yes.
So that's why I kind of understand why they didn't go there and take the content for this movie.
Right, and you could get several movies out of this. They even kind of hint that, hey, they're going to do a sequel with a whole new adventure later, but clearly they're going to do all new ideas in this particular lineup if they happen to do more films.
Also, the artwork in the books is beautiful.
Yes.
It looks fantastic. The animation here was kind of jarring when we saw it.
Yeah.
And the characters look different from the way they do in the graphic novels as well.
And apparently they were using the same studio that did the Dragon Prince animation, which is why whenever we watch this, why does it feel like Dragon Prince? Because it technically is with the studio they chose. So there wasn't a 2D movie like we thought it was going to be.
Right.
Perhaps they thought this would be better because it'd be in 3D and you get to see more motion. So it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I really was hoping for that, but this is what we got. Now, that being said, it really is entertaining.
Yes.
If you've never read the books and you just see this movie, you'll really, really enjoy it for what it is, as it is.
Right.
And you won't feel like you're missing something because you've read them.
Right.
So if you haven't seen it, we definitely recommend that you take the time to watch it. It's a new release, so if you buy it, it's running about $25 now.
Right.
And it might get cheaper later, or you can find it at your local library, or you can rent it possibly from Redbox. We're not sure. But that being said, it again is something you really should watch, and we're going to tell you why. First off, you've got Batman and Superman together as friends. They're friends like Wally and Nightwing. Wally and Dick, like Nightwing and Flash.
Yes.
And Young Justice.
Yes. And in here, they kind of retell the story of John finding out about his powers and about his dad being Superman. So it starts from there, and you kind of, like I said, it's kind of a sped up thing of them, him finding out about the powers, meeting Damian, working together. It's kind of all together.
But as I said, it's the first great thing is they're friends in here. there's a friendly competition
Yes.
between Batman and
It
Superman.
wasn't Batman versus Superman in that way.
And that's one of the best things about the movie.
Oh,
That
yes.
being second, I want to talk about how in here
Oh,
it's not
yeah.
Batman versus Superman. It's not I'm better than you.
Right.
It's not you suck. It's not I
They're-
got kryptonite to take you down.
Right, they're just
They're
two dads.
friends, and it's wonderful. That's one of the best things about
They're
it.
just two dads trying to get advice on how to raise the kids. And it's pretty fun to see.
Now, what's really funny is you mentioned that about the kids, but the kids weren't friends. And
Right.
the kids hadn't met each other. They knew of each other,
Right.
but they hadn't met each other.
Right.
And that's where this movie comes in and gets them together.
Right.
Before that, Superman, of course, married Lois Lane in this version as well.
Yes.
There's a Jimmy in here too that's akin to the Jimmy that was in the live-action Supergirl series.
Yes.
But this Lois Lane is really different from the Lois you know. She doesn't act like her. She doesn't look like her. She doesn't even seem to be Lois.
Yeah. I think they were trying to make her a little more, as we've heard many times, the buzzword relatable. So instead of her being this go-getter and reporter, because, most people are motivated now to do a lot of things, they decided to make her a little more forgetful. She's not stupid, but they try to make her a little more down-to-earth and regular instead of her being the top reporter. That's pretty much what they changed, and it's odd to see her not be like that, really.
Now, as Rascal mentioned, they become friends and you get to see how that builds up and they take a shortcut. And that's one of the things that's really disappointing about this movie. If you read or you do read the graphic novels, part of the fun is the comments between them.
Yes.
And the insults and the things that they say to each other. It's like when you watch other movies and see Batman and Superman together.
Yeah.
That's the way they behave. Now they're like, oh, you're my buddy and friendly, and
Already.
their kids are acting like they've done in other movies.
Right.
And the disappointing part is you don't get to see that develop. You don't get to see all of the things that are in the book. They really made it a joy to read, and really you could see how their friendship became a true friendship, how they learned to like each other, how Damian learned to bring his guard down just a little
Yeah.
and actually have a friend.
Right.
You don't get all of that in here, and that's
Yeah.
really disappointing.
Yeah. Quickly, we're going to go right into that, is one of the best things that they had in the beginning after John finds out about his powers and his dad's Superman, because he talks about he wants to meet the Justice League and everything, and it's the coolest thing ever. But here's the one running joke I thought was hilarious. After he finds out his dad's Superman, he's flying on his back through the sky and stuff. The first thing he asks him is, does he get to meet Batman? Does he get to meet Batman? And he does. And the first thing he tells his mom, he flew over the city, and I met Batman! It's like your dad's Superman, and you still wondering where Batman is!
Yes. And Damian is not impressed with either his dad or Superman.
Right.
He's got the Damian Wayne attitude to a certain extent.
Right.
But
And-
you can tell that it was toned down,
Yes.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
for this movie.
Right. And apparently this was due to...
No more
Some-
Artemis Fowl.
Right. The whole thing was that the idea for Damian is that if Artemis Fowl had powers and could fight, that was the entire base of the character. Well, recently, when they had another edition of Supersons, the person in charge of it, who had never read the comics, didn't like that Damian was a kid assassin and was beating people up, and he thought that was really bad for a child to act. So,
Very cool.
so when he did his version, Damian was more like a regular kid who just wanted his dad's attention, which I guess worked for some people, but not for us. So in here, they didn't quite go that far, but they sort of met in the middle. Damian wasn't ruthless and back-talking and violent and stuff. He had little tendencies, but it didn't go that far.
But he wasn't that way in the graphic novels either, which is why I didn't understand why they didn't stick with that version. He was not to the extreme in the graphic novels. He had already been told that.
Exactly. You're right. That's why it was actually safe for a lot of kids to read outside of the graphicness of the other. Supersons was the safest thing to read.
Right.
So when they did it, they decided to have Damian be more like his mother, Talia al Ghul. They changed his look, his attitude. He was more based off the mom now instead of Batman.
But still,
then-
you loved him, and he was still badass
Right.
in the graphic novel.
Right. And then when they did this film, they didn't want Damian to steal the movie. It was more, as you watched it, it was more of John's movie than a joint movie with him and Damian. John had to be the one to really save the day, which we understand. But they made sure Damian really couldn't battle. Yeah.
He didn't shine.
Right. He really, except for battling, which he can't beat anyway, he really wasn't able to stand his ground with a lot of villains. He's just more like, he talked a lot of talk, but when it came, he barely made it out alive.
So I'm going to say again, he didn't get his chance to shine.
Exactly.
That's what was great about the graphic novels.
Exactly.
Both of them shined in there. You saw both their strengths, both their weaknesses, and again, how they developed their friendship.
Exactly.
And by the third book, you just wanted more.
Right.
And they cut it off and they stopped it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it gets into the plot where they have the villain Starro come to Earth, and he's been infecting people secretly. He's going to take over and make the planet have no crime or anything, which they freaked out about.
And now that was one of the much better parts of the movie.
Yes.
That storyline.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it became about the two of them working together to how to stop Starro from taking over the planet, because he was doing it at a rapid rate. And it was pretty much them overcoming their differences, like I said, pretty quick in the movie. And it was more along the line of John went in head first, Damian wanted to think, and then for the reverse issues is that Damian was thinking way too hard, and John wasn't listening to certain advice. So they kind of flipped their personalities and what was wrong in order for them to work together. So it kind of being, you had to trust John more than trust Damian, which is funny because he pushed him off a ledge. So
that was one of the best parts. I thought that, now that there was Damian Wayne.
Yes.
And he's like, dude, does he have flight powers? I don't know. We haven't tried. He's screaming and falling to his death. And Superman saves him. He's like, why did you do that? Well, now we know he doesn't.
Right?
And that was typical Damian Wayne behavior.
Right.
That fit in perfectly. It was like, okay, maybe they're going to. No, later on, he was calm.
Oh, which reminds me, one other thing they kept, it's not Damian or John, but of all the strange things, they also, if you remember, they had a spin-off for the spin-off with the League of Super Pets, which they changed drastically for another film as well. But there was a time when some of the Super Pets had their own stories in between Supersons and then their own story. In here, they, of all things, they kept Bat Cow. They kept Bat Cow. Yes, that's a real character. Damian saved a cow, and its spots on his face look like the bat signal. Right. Damian kept it, and I kid you not, the cow is gruff and is moody and standoffish like Batman. I kid you not. And that was the one thing from the comic they kept, is Damian having a cow. I mean, he didn't listen to Bart.
But all in all, the movie is a good watch.
Yes.
I forgot to mention, I actually got this from Christmas from Rascal.
Yes.
So I know how much you really wanted to see it, which I really did. So do I recommend you see it? Do we recommend you see it?
Yes.
Absolutely. Again, if you've never read the graphic novels and see it just for what it is, it's entertaining. It's got fun moments. It's got lots of action. It's got a good storyline.
Yes, still, yeah.
So this is something you really absolutely will enjoy. If you read the graphic novels, you may be a little disappointed like we are that some things weren't kept. Mm-hmm. But overall, this movie, I would say, gets a B. It absolutely gets a B. And we definitely recommend that you watch it if you haven't seen it.
Right.
Again, right now, it's running about $25. I don't know if it's available on HBO Max, but
it probably is.
Hopefully, if not, maybe you'll be able to rent it from Redbox. But if you haven't seen it, it's one you should see.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we're hoping that this becomes a line of movies in another series, since they've done a whole nother universe called Tomorrowverse for the DC animated movies. We'd love to see a Super Sons movie series, even if they're all original and not based off the books. We'd love to see some more movies for Super Sons, as long as it still consistently is great. And if this was a B, then it gets better and consistently gets better with a new film.
And I hope they would really change the animation some.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing I would really say. If they could make the animation a little better, where Damian doesn't look just jacked up.
Oh, and bring back
some
Tom
of
Kenny.
the characters, yes, and some of the characters just look kind of strange the way they're animated. So if they could do that, then yeah, definitely I'd like to see a series, as you said.
Right.
So if you've seen it, let us know what you think in the comments below. Have you read the graphic novels or not? If you have read them and haven't seen the movie, do you plan on seeing it? Let us know in the comments below.
Yes. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, weekly videos on your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. And if you've been really wanting to see Damian Wayne because he's kind of been left out of everything recently, then this is the movie for you.
Yes. So, thanks for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.